Okay, so we are going to be doing a diaper tutorial about how to replace the elastics on a Grovia Hybrid diaper. So these are the materials you'll need. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take out some of this seam. You want enough to get your hand in here pretty easily. We're going to turn the whole diaper inside out. So you can use your seam ripper. You want to find a stitch. Stick your seam ripper right into that stitch. Try not to get too much of the fabric in there. And then rip. You can do it on this side. It's a little easier to see the stitches sometimes. It doesn't matter too much on this side or on this diaper because it is a hook and loop diaper, so it has an extra layer. But if I'm doing a snap diaper, I'm really scared of getting this TPU. So I'll usually try and do it on this side. So there's the stitch I just did. And get the next one. Ha. And we'll continue on. Okay, I found with these diapers, there's often, so this is what we've been ripping, is this section here. There's a little bit where there's two stitches. I don't know if you can see that. There you go. So this is the one we've been ripping. It's also got a top stitch here. I don't know why, but you're just going to take both of those out. It happens on both sides, not so much near the middle of the diaper, but over on the other, over further on the edge, it's here again. So I've already pulled out this row here, and there's another row here. So we're just continue pulling out the seams. So this is definitely big enough. You can always do a little more if you want to have a little bit extra space to get your hand in. That's seam ripping. Now we need to rip the top of the diaper a little bit. So if you look on your diaper, you'll find there's a zigzag here and a zigzag here, and that's what holds, one of the things that holds the elastic in. So I'll show you up close. I know yellow's probably not the best choice here, but you can see there's a seam that goes along here, and then it goes down, and then it goes over. So we're gonna seam rip from about here to about here. So for seam ripping this, I usually use a needle because I really don't want to get these things, get the TPU stuck. So I use the broad end of the needle. I pull the stitch up a little bit so that I'm not using my seam ripper so close. Then I'll put that into that little loop. So there's no way I'm getting any of that TPU in there. Okay, there's the same zigzag on the other side. Should come up pretty well. I'm just going to snip the edges on that one. Okay, so here is my Z, if you can see that, and it's all been ripped out. Okay, so we are going to pull this one out next. So we're going to do a little bit on this side and a little bit more on this side. So let's start here. Again, I'm using the not pointy end of my needle. I'm just getting under here, hooking it up a little bit so I have a loop. Getting this seam ripper in here, right into the loop. There. We started about here, and then we ended about here. One more. Okay, so we've got all 4 of our Zs unstitched and our front here. So now we're going to turn it inside out. So I can stick my hand in here. I'm going to grab one of the tabs and carefully turn this monkey inside out. Poke those edges out a bit. There we go. So we need to get all the way to this edge. That's where the elastic goes to. We need to pull this out quite a bit. There's our little dent that we need to get to. Same thing on this side. We need to find that little channel that the elastic goes through. There it is. Okay, next step. We're going to dig into this channel a little bit, and we should be able to find, there's the elastic, and we should be able to find where it's tacked on. So again, here's the diaper, here's where the elastic starts, and here is where the elastic is tacked on. I don't know if you can see that there, but there's a couple tacks straight across here. So again, I like using my needle. You can definitely use your seam ripper here, because it doesn't matter if you wreck the elastic. Here, I'll zoom in here a bit. So there's our elastic, and we're just going to rip this out. This one's actually very hard to see. There's an edge. Before you get too far on pulling the elastic out, I like to put a pin in here, because we definitely don't want to lose that elastic. It causes mucho chaos. Going to pull this out. So just noting, you don't need to be as careful with the TPU here, because this is just a seam allowance. This part will keep the wet in, this part's just extra. Okay, so this is where our seam allowance was before. So I'm going to take a pen, and I'm going to mark down where it was. Come on, pen. There we go. Because that's where we're going to put our new elastic. Now, this elastic is nice and free. Ooh, yeah, that is kind of a wrecked elastic. Free is good, but free is dangerous, so I'm just going to attach it into just the liner here. So I'm not making a hole in the TPU. Don't want to wreck your TPU, but I'm just attaching the elastic here so we don't lose it. Next elastic. So, oops. Again, here's the diaper. We're finding this little inlet. We're going to dig in here a little bit, find where it's attached, and we're going to pull out some of these attachment bits. I forgot to put the pin in ahead of time. I'm living in the danger zone. So pin. And we're going to draw our line. I mean, you can mostly see where the holes are, so you could just go by where the holes are, but line doesn't hurt. So what this basically did was, while we were pulling on this, we might have pulled the elastic all the way through. We don't want to pull that elastic all the way through, so that's why we pinned it on here. I'll just pin it on here because I'm super paranoid. Once again, just through the liner. We're not poking through. So once again, we want to find our little hole. There it is. The elastic must be hiding in there. Pull that elastic. There it is. You were hiding, but I found you. This one I didn't quite cut enough out on this Z, so I'm just going to pull a couple more stitches so that I can really see the elastic. There we go. Adjust. So, once again, we're just pulling this elastic seam out. Okay, our elastic's out. We are going to put a pin on it. Good, good. And we're going to mark where our elastic came off of. Definitely the back ones are harder because they're quite close to the tabs there. Okay, we marked where that line is. I'm just going to clean up this a bit. There we go, less fuzzy. Okay, last one. Attaching this on again. Okay, last one. Finding your hidey hole. There it is. Pull on the hidey hole. Alright. 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 And there's our line we need. Okay, free elastic is good elastic. Okay, I'm going to mark where that came off, if I can still see it. Oh, there it is, it's full of fluff. Pull on the back of these stitches, get some of that fluff out of there. There we go, much cleaner. I don't know if you guys can see those little holes. That's where the stitches came out. Draw our line. Attach our safety pin. Okay, all of our four corners are out. One safety pin, two safety pins, three safety pins, four safety pins. We're going to put this aside for a minute. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we are going to measure our elastic. So you need to have 3/8 of an inch elastic. So if I measure this, that's 3/8 of an inch elastic. It's much harder to find than the 1/4 and the 1/2, but it's manageable. You can't find it. So I'm going to measure about 1/2 inch First I'll cut this because it's not straight. It's going to drive me nuts. So I am going to measure about 1/2 inch and mark it off. Yeah, about 1/2 inch. Okay, and then I am going to measure 5.5 inches. So 5.5 inches is what the diaper is going to take. 5.5, and then I'll do another 1/2 here. So I'll snip it off on that 1/2. So I'm going to put my stitches in at the 5.5 mark. Hopefully that's right. Yep, at the 5.5 mark, but this is just a little bit of extra. Okay, so here's your 2 elastics. We're going to take 1 elastic and pull on this guy. Sorry, unhitch this guy. And then we're going to give this guy a good tug. This guy's attached, so we shouldn't have to worry about him. With a little bit of a tug. Yeah, there's some wrecked elastic. Check out that elastic. And then our new elastic. Ooh. Alright, so we are going to take the pin off this guy. And we're going to attach this elastic to its brother. New elastic, old elastic. This is when we can use our different colored thread. So I just like to use a bright colored thread, like red, so that I can see, because we're going to take these stitches out right after it's, come on, there we go. Right after it's attached, we're going to take this elastic right back out. So you want to put it farther out than the line. And we're just going to go back and forth a little bit. Yeah. 1. It doesn't need to be perfect. We're just tacking this on so that we can pull it through. But I like to do 1 row forward and then 1 row back. That way I know it's not going to fall off. If you do lose the elastic in the casing, it's not the end of the world. You can just use a safety pin or a large needle and pull the elastic through, but it's a lot harder that way. Snip. Okay, so old elastic, new elastic, old elastic. So you're just going to pull on this end, and it should go right through on this end. You might need to tuck it in a bit. Oh, another thing. So you want this elastic to be between these 2 PUL layers. You don't want it to be between these 2 casing layers. Well, I don't want to. I think this would wear out a lot quicker than the PUL layers. So I'm just going to tuck this in between the PUL. Tuck, tuck. Pull, pull. There it goes. Now before you get too far on here, you want to put your safety pin back in here. Because once again, I feel like a broken record, but you don't want to lose the end of your elastic. Very bad idea. To start the whole elastic thing all over again. Okay, so this end's attached. This end we can unhook. And we'll just keep pulling. See, we would have lost that elastic end if I had just pulled like that, if it wasn't attached. But it is. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull, pull. There we go. So we've got our elastic end. I'm going to check. So it's not between the 2 layers of the lining. It's between the 2 layers of the PUL, which is awesome. Pull it through a little bit more. There we go. I am going to attach it. And we've still got our end here. Just double check. Yay! And now we're going to have to pull out all these red stitches. Once again, that's why I like red, because it is easy to see what we're going to have to pull out. I don't mind tacking 2 rows because you'll see it only takes a couple seconds to pull these out. All done. Okay, so these 2 are both attached, so let's do the other side. Okay, next step, we are going to be sewing this elastic. It's kind of harder with the hook and loop because it has this big chunky thing in the way, but we'll do what we can. So we're going to pull this out. We're going to find out where our mark is there, and we're going to line it up with this mark. That's pretty good. Pull this out. You just want to be doing just the flap. It's lined up. So now I need some thread. Oh, I guess I'll use white for this. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so we have our white thread. We have our 2 lines. So there's the bottom line. There's the top line. Sneak them together. Okay, and hokey pokey. Now you could use a sewing machine for this if you want, but I find it hard to get into these little crevices with the sewing machine. Frankly, it's easier to do by hand because I can just hang out on the couch and do it when I'm not making a tutorial. Okay, and we'll just sneak a little bit under there, make a knot, I'll make another knot for good measure, another knot, and sneak it through here. So we got a bit of a tail. Come on. Enough. And snip, snip. And you can do as many rows up and down this as you want. You can chop the tail off if you want. I don't think it's really going to get in the way, so I'll just leave it there for now. Now we can do the other end. So again, we attach this on because look what happened. It's like almost disappeared. We're going to pull this through. Pull, pull, pull. Get this elastic back out, which is going to pull on this, but it's not going through too bad. Again, check and make sure it's between the 2 PUL layers. Yep, it is. Come on. The more you can get a little bit more elastic and PUL out of here, the easier it is to sew on top of. So we'll take this out. Okay, so there's our line. Make it a little straight. Here's our elastic line. Put it right over top. Make sure the lining's not in the way. Make sure you start on the other side of this thread that's here. And here we go. Knot. do multiple if you want to. That's cool. Make a couple rows or a couple of knots. Okay. Sneak the tail out so it gets a little bit of a tail. Snip, snip. Okay, one elastic is fully done, other than the top Z stitching. Yay, next side. We're just going to do the same thing. Oh, yeah, we're just stitching. More white. Okay, second elastic done. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back right side out. Grabbing one of my pokey ends, carefully putting my hand through. Pull, pull, pull. Pull, pull. Pretty diaper. So now we need to go back over these Z's again. Z, Z, Z. So I can feel the elastic here. It's going to about here, which is fine. Now we take our thread that is the same color as the diaper thread. Okay. So I'm going to start a couple inches farther than where I cut off. About there. So again, I'm starting a few inches farther back than the stitches that I cut off. That's going to stop them from unraveling later. I'm going to back stitch one. So I started here. I'm going to go back one space. And then back forward over into the same spot I just did. Ha. Okay, now I'm going to try and go through the same holes that the Grovia diaper originally had. Oh, I have a loop. Okay, so now all we need to do is close up the top. So, put our diaper together. We got yellow on the bottom, white on the top. Scooch it in here. You shouldn't have to backstitch because we're overlapping stitches that already exist. Okay. We're just straight stitching. There's no reason you can't hand stitch this. This is just kind of quicker. And there we go, all stitched up. Looks pretty decent. I know you're in the dark there.